Welcome to Forward, everybody, Flexport's annual customer conference. We're super excited to spend the next few days with you here, and I think there's probably never been a more interesting time to assemble to talk about what's going on in global logistics, try to get a handle on the supply chain. We've assembled some of the best, the brightest minds in logistics to share their opinions, share their viewpoints, perspectives, maybe make a few predictions, and most of all, try to help our customers manage through this chaos. I want to start by giving a big thank you to the whole Flexport team that helped us put this on, and to all of you for attending. We wish we could do this in person. We did 2 years ago. We had so much fun, learned so much, really spent quality time together in Los Angeles a couple of years ago. Promise you we're going to do that again as soon as possible. We almost pulled it off this year, but the Delta variant got in our way. So thank you all for coming on virtually. It'll be almost as good as in person, I promise. Now, before I start, legal needs me to show you this disclaimer. And let's get going. So I think it'll come as no surprise to you that over the past 18 months, we've just hit historic highs and lows across the supply chain. A lot of lows, a lot of really challenging problems. The main thing that's high is the price. But I want to share some numbers to paint a picture for you, show you just the scope of what we've been dealing with, and call to light some of the experiences our customers, all of you, have been facing along with us. Before I do that, though, I'll just share a selfie of what the last 6 months of everybody's lives have felt like. I think you're all probably feeling this too, under a tremendous amount of pressure right now, all of us as an industry, to try to deliver in the midst of unprecedented chaos. As of a week and a half ago, there were 71 vessels at anchor waiting to unload in Long Beach. It's come down a tiny bit day to day, it fluctuates, but the reality is in normal times, there are 0 ships out there waiting. And so it is really billions and billions of dollars. I saw an estimate as many as 500,000 shipping containers are just sitting there waiting to unload, not really moving at the pace that we'd all like to see. You've seen incredible delays. In fact, I actually went down there not long ago on a Saturday, and there was nothing moving on a Saturday. So President Biden announced last week they're going to run the ports 24/7. Hopefully that's progress, and we start to see a little bit. But it's a chain reaction, and in a supply chain where it's systemic, and it is a chain, it's always the next one that down or up the chain that can be blamed or that gets pushed the problem. So the next question is, we're running the ports in the middle of the night. Are your warehouses open in the middle of the night to receive the goods? If not, it may not help. So it gives you a sense of how these problems can cascade through the supply chain, and there's usually not a simple solution for any one actor. As that congestion takes hold, and as there have been delays with trucks getting into the port and traffic jams and ports closing because of COVID in China and around the world where you've had these shutdowns, the result has been a real restriction in supply. A lot less container ships. If it's not moving, it's not delivering cargo. It's not adding, supply is being subtracted from the network. At the same moment, demand is up. Consumers are buying more things than they have in years past, not able to buy services, they're buying goods, and that's led to all-time high prices. We've seen spot market rates right now on the Trans-Pacific eastbound, Asia to the United States, as high as $23,000 to get loaded. You'll see lower rates than that, but they may not load your container. They may not provide you with the equipment. So really unprecedented times. I had the CEO of one of our medium-sized customers, one of the largest makers of home improvement goods, come to the Flexport office recently in San Francisco. He flew all the way out to meet us. I'm sure his logistics manager wasn't super thrilled to have the CEO getting actively involved in the job. I think we're all feeling that pressure right now. Our executive teams and boards really want to know what's going on. This is driving major impact. What he told us was the price of shipping alone, the increases, we're going to require them to raise the price of their products by 15% to the end consumer. So it's a massive driver of inflation, and that's just the price of logistics. There's an additional add here, as if you're the only person that has your product in stock and none of your competitors do, you can charge even more than that. So you're going to see this really impact and ripple through the economy. Front page news already, and I think CEO level, board level attention is focused on all of us, focused on you and your jobs as logistics managers, and focus on us as a vendor. And we're committed to helping you step up to that. We introduced one of our customers to Bloomberg News, and this was her quote: "Just get me a box. She just needs to get space on a ship." And I know I know how many of you are feeling that way. For our teams, it's been some of the most frustrating times in our years in the industry. On a personal note, I know many of us at Flexport, we're mostly still working remotely, working from home. I know many of you are doing that as well. We see it in our usage data, where usage of our software has gone up through the roof since the start of the pandemic because we enable teams to do remote work. But just a reminder how much the fact that we're pulling all of this off while working remotely, so many people is really impressive and not to be taken for granted. So many people join new companies, talk to a lot of our customers who switched roles and are trying to get their head around them, their head on top of their shoulders here, trying to figure out what's going on, and haven't even met in person the people at their companies that they're working with and that they're solving problems with every day, just adding to the complexity of it all. And the reality is it's harder than ever to get merchandise in stock, and we're right around the corner from Christmas season, holiday shopping season, Black Friday, and a lot of your businesses are at risk right now of not having the inventory in stock to be able to meet the customer's demand. We're looking at, as an economy, the lowest levels of inventory relative to sales, almost generational lows, about 26% decline from last year, which CFOs might like having less inventory. It means you're running a pretty lean operation, but they're not going to like it when their growth suffers, when you're not able to get the customer the product that they're looking for. And that's the name of the game right now, is how do we get merchandise into the hands so you can meet your growth targets. And this is a national economic security issue. We need that growth. The economy needs the growth. It's how we pay for everything else. It's making the news for sure. If you're a smaller business, maybe you're just grappling with these unforeseen challenges and you got a little team of logistics professionals solving this, or maybe you're the founder of the company and you're getting a crash course learning more than you ever cared to know. For our seasoned professionals, this is sort of unprecedented. You've been around long enough to know this isn't normal, where all these ships are piling up, where it's taking hours to get a truck through. Appointments are going missed constantly at the port. Really a lot of compounding factors that are making things worse and worse. Certainly not where any of us want to be, a lot of pressure. At Flexport, we've had a number of global clients, including Fortune 500 businesses, ask us to come and present to their executive teams and even the board of directors to explain just what is going on in supply chains. And we're happy to do that for you. We want to arm you as our customer, try to make you heroes. Of course, we're going to do everything we can to fight through this friction and solve these problems on your behalf. But some problems can't be solved, and the best thing we can do is talk about the risks that we're facing, to understand what's happening, and help you get a sense of where things are going. And we're really happy to arm you with materials to share with your leadership teams, or even come and chat with them directly. So please take us up on that. We love to meet our customers. The supply chain is front page news. We're usually the back office. Nobody's paying attention to us. I sometimes joke that your logistics professionals are the offensive linemen of business. You kind of only notice us when something goes wrong, when you commit a penalty. If the offensive lineman doesn't get noticed all game, they're probably having a good game. And all of a sudden we're getting noticed left and right. And so it's how do we help you? Because you're getting more inquiries than ever from your teams, asking about the price of things, asking when merchandise is going to be in stock, trying to figure out what's going on in your world. And of course you want to arm them with that data. It's a big part of your job. One thing that we've seen is the usage of the Flexport platform is going up. In fact, today the average customer now has 55 employees on our platform, and they're running pretty lean logistics teams. We pride ourselves on helping you be lean and mighty little teams and get a lot done. But what you're seeing is finance teams onboarding to the platform, merchandising teams, the people placing those POs want to know when they're going to arrive. E-commerce teams are now logging in all the time to check statuses and keep the inventory up to date on Shopify or your e-commerce checkout software. So we'd love to help you and onboard folks and get you this data so you're not spending all day answering emails. A lot of stuff can be self-service. Now, it's not just within our companies that people are taking notice and realizing what's possible here. I think the whole industry, I'm very proud of what the logistics industry as a whole was able to do in response to the pandemic and getting protective equipment to our healthcare workers. Flexport played a big part in this, and so did our whole community. Not only customers who donated money and donated product in kind, but we had airlines. I want to give a shout out in particular, Atlas Airlines and United Airlines, both donated really cheap air freight. In some cases, gave us entire flights for free. We flew almost 450 million units of personal protective equipment to hospitals on 5 continents. You may have seen that Salesforce did a big donation of PPE to the University of California healthcare system. That was Flexport and our partners at Atlas and United paying for the flights. So really proud of that. And I think expect to see, we as an industry we kind of feel like we have superpowers sometimes. Sometimes we feel like we can't get anything done, but often we're able to step up and respond to a crisis. And I was really proud of the whole industry and the Flexport community, including all of our vendors for that. And, it's a world of black swans, it feels like it. With that Ever Given, when that ship got stuck, it was you almost couldn't do anything but laugh because it's been hard enough, tough enough year. And then all of a sudden the ship gets stuck and creates this huge backlog. Flexport had 43 containers on the Ever Given. Customers thankfully paid for insurance, which covered that, so they didn't have to get hit with the general average that fell out of that. But there were actually 1,200 more containers of Flexport customers on the ships immediately behind the Ever Given. Create a lot of chaos, but it also showed how our software, how being able to get visibility, know where your stuff is, know exactly which purchase orders on which container can really make a big impact. And we were able to pass that data all the way through to end customers, even in a time of very unpredictable things like the Ever Given. And it does speak, by the way, to sort of the ability to make predictions is very, very difficult because you're making predictions based off of data, and all data comes from the same place, which is the past. And when the future doesn't look like the past, it doesn't matter how good your algorithm is, it's not going to get it right. And I think we're all going through that together right now. But I also want to remind folks, it's kind of normal. The last 18 months has felt completely chaotic, but maybe the reality is chaos is normal in global logistics. And just since Flexport started in 2015, just to give you a quick sense of what we've been through. We're a young company, but we've been through a lot together. 2015, those of us who were around back then, remember there was a West Coast port strike where the Longshoremen Union was on strike and nothing shipped for like 3 months. A lot of companies missed Christmas that year too. Total disaster for the industry, very hard for us as a new company. You can't ship anything. 2016, the lowest prices in human history to ship something around the world. Prices so cheap that Hanjin went bankrupt. I almost want to pour a glass out for Hanjin because if they were around right now, they probably would have made about $10 billion this year, but they went bankrupt, couldn't hold on for those 5 years. Then 2017 to 2019, we had the Trump administration introducing new tariffs seemingly at random. It was very hard to predict when these were going to hit and totally send the unit economics and business model of our customers into a tailspin. And we had to get really good at responding to this, helping you identify what this means for your business, what you can do about it. And then 2020, when the pandemic first hit, we saw all purchase orders fall off a cliff. The Chinese manufacturing sector shut down for almost 6 weeks, didn't reopen after Chinese New Year. The ocean carriers idled 30% of their capacity. And I don't know a single economist in the world, and we employ some great ones, but I don't know a single one who predicted that volumes would go up. And now it makes sense in hindsight. We can say, well, consumers are not able to go to restaurants. They can't go to sort of travel and go to bars. And so got to get your dopamine somewhere. And what they're doing is buying more stuff than ever. And you've had this huge shift onto goods. And no one predicted this. And so coming back, you had all this idle fleet because we thought, like everyone else, the whole industry thought, wow, this is going to be pretty bad. The economy is going to go into a tailspin. Next thing you know, demand has far outstripped supply. And we have not been able to catch up since 2021. Right now, as we speak, the highest prices in history. Can't get a container. There's imbalances of empty equipment not getting back to where it needs to be. Congestion at the ports. It's now taking a truck driver so long to get in and out of these ports that where they used to be able to do 2 loads, they're for the most part only able to do 1 right now, which is a real severe cutback in capacity. And so, yeah, just chaos is ensuing. I got bad news for you too. Might get worse before it gets better. A couple things on our radar. 2 I have on this slide. One is that the contract negotiation is up for renewal next summer on the West Coast with the International Longshoremen and Warehousing Union. That we can't predict how that's going to happen, but the last time it was a multi-month strike and a slowdown. So be ready for that. I think you need to start planning. It might be very difficult next summer and beyond to get cargo into the West Coast ports. Year after that, the IMO regulations are going to kick in. This is a new one where the ships will have to reduce their carbon emissions by 13%. And really, all existing ships, of container ships, there's no really easy way to do this other than going slow. And that's what you're going to see, is that by slow steaming, by cutting your speed 30%, you can reduce carbon emissions by 13%. Some vessels won't be able to do it at all, but the larger ones can do that. What all the current pricing market conditions, we estimate about a 20 or less % reduction in capacity. So if you talk about a 30% reduction in capacity, 2023, prices may go through the roof, even higher. Can't predict that. The future's uncertain. Maybe this regulation doesn't take hold, but we should be ready for whatever the world throws at us. That's the big lesson in all of this. And then as I'm speaking right now, we're seeing power outages across China, something that I don't think anybody had in their radar once again, where manufacturing sector is not able to produce at full capacity. We did a survey recently of 100 of the largest factories on our platform shipping goods, and 38% of them, 38 factories, said that their capacity, their production capability was going to be significantly diminished currently as a result of the power rationing that's going on in China. So who knows, maybe there's a countervailing force, but it certainly doesn't help all of you who are trying to get inventory in stock if your now factory shut down. So you combine all of this and you're talking about a crazy, vicious cycle. And really what we call this a bullwhip effect. And at the heart of a bullwhip effect is where there's this mismatch between what current demand means for future supply. And when forecasting, companies look to demand trends to drive their production and orders of raw materials. But if in a demand shock, what looks like a large recurring order might be a one-time order. Maybe they're making up for past orders. And so you get these distortions that can flow through and cascade through a supply chain, and at each level ripple and become worse and worse. This purchase order quantities may be too much or too little. Factories are playing their own guessing game where they manufacture too much and end up with all this inventory that they can't get off the loading dock. And I don't think we've ever seen, this is a well-documented phenomenon in supply chains, the bullwhip effect. Very interesting to go read about. If you haven't, but I don't know that we've ever seen it where it's kind of at the macro level, economy-wide, starting to cascade through entire supply chains. And the reality is, there might be some historical examples, but we've never lived in such a globalized era before. So it's unlikely to find something like this in the past. It's where we're so interdependent and we're so dependent on manufacturing being distributed and raw materials coming from all over the world. We're in uncharted territory. It's all made worse by mistrust. That the industry there's a lot of different parties that need to come together to complete a transaction. And you see so many cases where there's a lack of trust, a lack of transparency, there's not good data flowing between these companies. And I see mistakes all the time. Well, to my view, it's a mistake where you'll see a freight forwarder to save $25, they'll cancel a shipment with one carrier and put it on a different one. They'll route it through a different port that takes a truck driver 3 hours and adds 4 days to your transit time. And they might actually make $25 more profit, but they just created hundreds and hundreds of dollars of costs at their vendors and at their customer. And this is that we as an industry must be looking to systemic approaches, the ability to look across and create end-to-end solutions. No one company can solve these problems. It's got to be about partnership between a forwarder, a customer, a carrier, the trucking companies, ocean carriers, airlines, warehouses, customs brokers, and governments. How do we work together? And I think technology is going to be a clear path for how we can do that. There is optimism here. There is the ability to connect systems, to exchange data, to talk about how we're going to do this together as a team rather than each player optimizing for their individual. And I want to remind you that it has been worse. Centuries ago, you had cannons on the side of these cargo ships. And we've come a long ways, although customers have been pretty frustrated and angry that you can't get your cargo. We haven't seen any real incidents of violence in a long time here, thankfully. But we have to break this cycle of mistrust and try to create value for all participants in global trade. It is our mission to make global trade easy for everyone. And it's really only, and we mean that everyone, and it's only possible when everybody wins. Really, really hard, but that's the definition of success. If you can create a win-win-win across the whole ecosystem, there's nobody that needs to lose. That's the nature of trade, mutually beneficial exchange. So we're really proud to get to work on that. I want to take a little bit through how we think technology can play a role here. And the first thing is just understanding this ecosystem, that to do a single shipment from that order all the way through to final customs clearance and delivery and payment to do the next order, that whole cycle, you've got as many as 18 companies involved in a single transaction. It's really interesting that as an importer or an exporter, you deal with a freight forwarder so they can hide that complexity for you. But a lot of the problems, a lot of the mistakes and bad data come because there are so many companies in that chain and they're all running on disparate systems and not exchanging data, and a problem upstream can cascade and ripple effect through the system. And so that's where Flexport plays. That's where we think our technology can play a huge role, is connect directly to these systems. If there's no system, we build it. We'll get them using our software to drive accurate data and digitize this world. And what we're known for is this sort of single pane of glass. This is what you as a customer use, where you engage with us, a command center in the cloud to track all your shipments, find out when they're going to arrive, see all those exceptions, and believe you, exceptions are through the roof. Exception on Flexport's side is where a human has to intervene, very costly. They're up 3x over the last year because of all these problems. But we're well known for this software, and you guys use it every day. What's a little bit less well known is how we pull this off on the back end and how we get data to make it accurate. So the first thing, one of the big announcements that we had earlier this year was launching our order management product that gets us so that you can place orders to your factory through the system. And we're building the best order management product in the world, and we're going to give it away. We want you to use it because if you use order management, we're seeing the orders 30, 60, or 90 days in advance of when they ship out, which lets us plan our capacity, plan our allocation. It makes us the best buyer of freight in the world, makes us a more profitable customer and a better customer for ocean carriers. They reward us with better pricing and better service. It's a big part of the model here. So we think order management's a key to the future. If you haven't tried it out, what it does for you is now you place an order through the system, and now you know every purchase order exactly where it is all the way to door. No more reconciliation of finding container numbers, and you can just search for the exact product and SKU you're looking for to see where it is. So check out the order management. Now, there's this back-end ecosystem where we connect the supply side, the asset owners, trucking companies, ocean carriers, other freight forwarders, agents around the world that do work on behalf of our customers. And we've built the world's best software for these folks. We have software for our trucking companies that now in the United States, we have 47% of the port truckers in the United States available for dispatch via our software. The software is a mobile app for the driver, a web app for the dispatcher, and they're able to assign loads to these drivers, and it gets us reliable capacity. It's not flawless, like the market's been crazy and we have problems like everyone else does, but so much more reliable than a company that has to make phone calls to talk to these people and get capacity. Ours are in our software, they're there every day. We can see if they're having driver shortages and assign the load to a different trucking company that day. We get real-time communication. So that driver is able to take a picture of any documentation that's coming off the load and be able to pass data back to the system. And you're able to get visibility end to end, including with our customs product library, where the single source of truth for all your products. We want to be to your products this hub where you get all your compliance records, data, auditable, so that for time immemorial, your records are here and it's your data, you can take it with you. One thing we found is that companies don't realize that when you export a product after you imported it, you're owed a refund on the duties that you paid on the way in every year in the United States, $9 billion of duty drawbacks goes unclaimed. So please contact us. We can get you free money from the government. That is the one best news I have today. Now, all of this is tied together by our visibility products, and we've been investing like crazy here. It's the #1 piece of feedback that we get from customers. Where's my stuff? Why is the transit time not accurate? Where's the schedule? Is the schedule wrong? What's going on? We're investing like crazy. We've got machine learning. We've got dozens of engineers building out data pipelines to track this stuff. You'll see us make major updates to the model to incorporate port congestion, traffic at the port, weather. All these things are coming, being added to the model as we speak. Every day we keep updating it and getting more and more accurate there. And today I'm really proud to announce that we're taking this visibility product where you can track all the shipments that you move with Flexport, and we're making that available to you for all your freight. So you can, even if you ship the freight with another provider for some terrible reason, you decide to ship with a different freight forwarder, or maybe it's a carrier direct shipment for some of you bigger customers, you'll still be able to get the full Flexport experience, and we'll track that for you. You can place orders, we can clear customs, you can use all of our services a la carte, or you just track it and use it. And we're giving that away for free. So that'll be coming out. Stay tuned. We've got our first beta customers already using it. We'll be giving it to the masses in 2022. Now, we think we can be a single source of truth for your entire supply chain, not just the freight you ship with Flexport. So super excited to announce that today. And don't miss some of the sessions that we have for you. There's so much more to come today. So thank you, everybody. I encourage you to dive in, ask questions of the panelists, and love to spend some more time with you next time at Forward in person. So excited to see everybody.